been reported. The Japanese have approximately 25 long-range submarines of the so-called I-50 class, which are capable of crossing the Pacific and returning without refueling. Apparently, therefore, these submarines, which would take about 10 to 12 days to get on that station from the nearest Japanese naval base, have been on their way for that length of time. And this throws a very curious light upon the Japanese request of a week ago for 2 additional weeks of negotiation. All this planning, all these attacks have been prepared over a long period of time. Certainly at least 2 weeks has elapsed since the original Japanese decisions were taken because of the location of the ships and comparatively slow ships such as submarines on this line of communications. I have one more item which may be of interest. We have just been informed here officially that the present reaction of the British government is officially this: to call attention to the Prime Minister's statement in his speech in the House of Commons some time ago that Great Britain would be at war with Japan 1 hour after Japan attacked the United States.
And now you've heard Mr. Warner's report of the War Department order in Washington ordering all military personnel in this country into uniform. The Army's order affected not only the thousands of officers on duty in Washington who have thus far performed their functions in civilian clothes to avoid a militaristic appearance, but all officers in every corps area, the United States possessions and outlying bases. And here is a bulletin that has just come in from the Press Association's dateline Los Angeles. Rear Admiral Charles H. Blakely broadcast an order today for all officers and men attached to the 11th Naval District to report to their ships or stations immediately. Washington is expected to blossom out tomorrow as a city of uniforms because huge numbers of officers have been pouring into the city for months to perform the Army's overhead functions. Early said that so far as the President's information went, attacks were still in progress at Manila and in Hawaii. That is, of course, Stephen Early, Presidential Press Secretary. In other words, he said, we don't know that the Japanese have bombed and left. He went on to say, as soon as the information of the attacks on Manila and Hawaii was received by the War and Navy departments, it was flashed immediately to the President at the White House. Thereupon, and immediately, the President directed the Army and the Navy to execute all previously prepared orders looking to the defense of the United States. The President is now with the Secretaries of Navy and War, and steps are being taken to advise the congressional leaders. Also, we received a report earlier from Washington that any news of the Far Eastern developments would have to come from the White House. Navy officials, when queried for news, made that statement. Congressional leaders immediately were advised of the crisis, too. Attachés of the Japanese embassy began burning secret documents in the embassy yard. The group of newspaper reporters and photographers stood by, watching, and after a few minutes, they were ordered to leave. The embassy doors were closed. There was no disorder. Columbia, of course, will interrupt any of its regularly scheduled programs to bring you bulletins and important developments on the news from the Far East as it develops in Washington, and as we receive reports from our correspondents, the press associations and affiliated stations from the danger zone. W.L. Schuyler will be on the air at 5:45 over most of these stations. John Daly speaking.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
WCCO, Minneapolis. The United Press announces that it is ordering into operation on a 24-hour schedule all of its leased wire circuits throughout the country. The order was given to the American Telephone and Telegraph Company shortly after 2 p.m. to see that all newspaper and radio clients of the United Press, regardless of their normal hours of service, were hooked into the UP wire system immediately for continuing service until further notice. Now we take you back to the symphony concert by the New York Philharmonic Symphony Society.
interrupt this broadcast for a special announcement.
This station has been asked to announce that officers and men of the Inshore Patrol, 13th Naval District, are ordered to report to duty stations immediately. This station has been asked to announce that officers and men of the Inshore Patrol, 13th Naval District, are ordered to report to duty stations immediately.
We interrupt the program of the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra to bring you another important bulletin on the Far Eastern situation from Washington. The President decided today, after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor and Manila, to call an extraordinary meeting of the Cabinet for 8:30 p.m. tonight and to have congressional leaders of both parties join the conference at 9 o'clock. And here is a bulletin from Panama City. The Panamanian government today ordered the arrest of all Japanese nationals in that country. We will bring you any new bulletins or developments as they come into the newsroom of CBS here in New York. Meanwhile, we return you to the program of the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra in Carnegie Hall. program of the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra, excuse me, to bring you two new bulletins on the Far Eastern situation, both of them from Honolulu. One says that Japanese bombs killed at least 5 persons and injured many others, 3 seriously, in the surprise morning aerial attack on Honolulu. The second says that Hawaii, including the great Pearl Harbor naval base, were attacked today by dive-bombing planes bearing the rising sun insignia of Japan. This is the first indication that the planes, all of them, were Japanese planes. Earlier, we had definite reports that 2 had been identified as such of the 50 to 100 that had been reported in the attack.
Are ordered to report to duty stations immediately. The Communications Office wants all officers and men of Patrol Wing 4 to report to the air station immediately. The Communications Office of the Naval Air Station Sandpoint wants all officers and men of Patrol Wing 4 to report to the air station immediately.
terminating the concert,